Anyway, hello to SB Adventures. You better believe I see all your stuff instantly. I see everybody's stuff. Wrath, anything anybody upposts, I see it instantly. And so I watched you as you come along. You first started out to the north or wherever, and then you ended up going up to kind of the Kenny Beach area. And so, no, I've watched you every minute. You know, on anybody's videos, if I see something noteworthy, I do watch them, and I would say so. Like your saddle, you went up to the saddle, and then you pointed out viewing down on the saddle. Well, no, I was looking at that. You better goddamn believe I was. But anyway, here's my assessment, just in my opinion, on the possible, not alien markings, but what could be petroglyphs. And there's several things. This is just my opinion. Remember, you haven't gone up there yet and took close, detailed photos of it. So I'm kind of, protecting myself a bit. First thing that sticks out, the symbol it really doesn't match anything like in petroglyphs that I've ever seen. At first I thought this could be a shield. I've seen petroglyphs where they will draw a shield. But the other stuff doesn't match. So I want to click forward to your video and point out a couple things. First of all, it's not a perfect a symbol like this. And that area up there, that limestone, has been exposed for roughly 80 million years. And limestone does erode by acid rain or whatever. It does erode. So it brings into question the covered M cave concept, in which as you hike along, like I pointed out, a person can see 50 covered M caves because of the way the limestone cracks and stuff like that. It's all over the place. So now let's look at this. Okay, somewhere in here, the first thing I note is, okay, look at where they would have been standing. They would have been standing, down here and putting this. Now, this is somewhat convincing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sort of almost convinced. But look at where they would have been standing. Petroglyphs are, right where you would think they were, like graffiti to send a message. And the thing is that when you come up this canyon, that could be easily where a petroglyph could be. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been there. But the thing is, it was way up high, like you said, where no one would be expected to be, and that's not where Indians put petroglyphs. Now, up at Valley of Fire, there are petroglyphs up, 70 feet up. And you go, God, how the hell did they get up there? But if you look over, it turns out they did get up there, and they did do them. So, okay, now let's look at this. Let's look at this closer. Here's the first thing. See where they would have been standing? Down here. That would be unusual. Then let's look at it up close.
Occur in straight lines.
Okay, now this... You've got me wondering, that's for sure. However, let me point out a couple things. That exposed limestone does erode. And this limestone here has been exposed for tens of millions of years. Tens of millions. That's overthrust, which ended about, let's say, 80 million years ago. And so, look at the striations coming down, following the water, and this up here, and this down here. So you've got these striations, and you have this one line. You have this one line, but look at how the line does extend. It does extend, and also for the perfect box, like if someone were to have carved it, which they could. Petroglyphs, like up at Arrow Lake, that date back 13,000 years, they did dig in deep into the tuff. But this is limestone. So now let's look at the symbol, the perfect symbol. Actually, it's not. That this does This does come down. Notice these striations coming down, and this has been exposed 30 million years. Okay, now if you take humans being here, let's say 20,000 years, even that is not enough to account for this weathering of the limestone. I'm the type of person, I do look at limestone and I analyze it, where the corals will be exposed by, let's say, a ½ inch, because they don't erode, but the limestone does. And so I look at, believe it or not, I do look at stuff like that. And so if you actually look at the box segment down here, it does not appear as something that someone would have carved. Notice the line. Notice the line in the box. It does extend. Notice this line coming down from here. It's not really through the center. It actually matches with this stuff. And it comes down, and it does extend. It does extend. And it does extend over here. Not something that I would picture someone carving, like to do a perfect symbol. Now, a person could say that if you look at this landscape, that, well, maybe they were up here, they were standing up a foot higher, and then down here a foot lower, and so it sloped downhill. That's not really the way they did it. You know, so I would say, in my opinion, although interesting, I don't know if there's a principle for it, but if looking at shapes in limestone and other areas, and if you go across a vast area, you will see shapes. You will see certain shapes. And so this could be just that. It could be, okay, here's a circle. Now the clincher would be, okay, this appears to be a circle. That's the clincher. Well, I guarantee you I have seen stuff like that. Yeah, that it just depends. This limestone, maybe a sponge was growing there, whatever, who knows. But the line through the center, if carved such as by Indian, would have went down through the center. And this here would not be warped like that. It wouldn't extend past here. Combined with the fact that petroglyphs and stuff generally are like graffiti, message boards, stuff like that, just like what you would think. It would be very unusual to be way up at the top of, and I've never seen it. You know, and I've seen thousands of petroglyphs and carvings, and I've never seen it where way up in an area where you wouldn't expect people to be, and there somebody stops and carves this. So I would call it inconclusive. Inconclusive, but I lean towards natural. I do lean towards natural.